Yeah,
Qadry, how you doing, my friend? Thanks so much for hopping on with us. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, doing well.
Well, I was doing some backtracking, and the last time we had you on was 8 years ago. Post game, Chiefs Ravens. The Ravens went on to win the Super Bowl that year. The Chiefs win it this last year. The stakes are a little higher for this game coming up here on Monday night than they were back in 2012 when the Chiefs went 2-14. Man, this is a big one coming up here.
Well, I guess the stakes are a little higher for you guys now that you're part of the world champion club.
Finally,
Uh,
right?
Finally, we took y'all a bit, but you got it done. But no, I think overall, when you look at this matchup, it goes with the coaches first, obviously Andy Reid and John Harbaugh and their history together. And then you look at what the quarterbacks are all about, and Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, both just phenomenal, talented athletes, great minds as far as the creativity that they bring to the game at the position of quarterback. And then, of course, you got a defense on both sides that when they're on their game, they can play well. So it should be exciting.
Absolutely. I kind of wanted to start with that Ravens defense. Talk about the additions to this Ravens defense we've seen in Derek Wolfe, Patrick Queen, and a guy who seems like the prototypical Baltimore Raven defensive lineman, Calais Campbell.
Yeah, and I'll say this, that, every year, Eric DaCosta, who is now the general manager going into his second season, I think every year the Ravens mantra is, how can we get better? What do we need to do? What changes do we need to make? And I think part of their mindset was their defensive side of the ball with their run defense. And so, yeah, you bring in a Calais Campbell. You draft a Patrick Queen. You get, a little bit more stout up front. You have Wolf coming in to spell Calais Campbell. And I think overall the speed of their defense, the way LJ Ford has been able to play, the way they've just the back end of it all. I just know Marlon Humphrey, he's just a playmaker. And then you add in Marcus Peters, that I know a lot of Chiefs fans know very well, but you add in, just some guys that just love playing the game of football and playing it well and doing such a great job. I think it just adds to what the Ravens defense is all about.
Well, we've seen Lamar Jackson's numbers, completing 77% of his passes. Obviously, John Harbaugh doing a great job using Lamar Jackson just the way he needs to be used, and they're it's paying dividends. But let's talk about the running game. What can the Chiefs expect from kind of this triumvirate of running backs? Gus Edwards, Mark Ingram, and J.K. Dobbins kind of getting the job done on the ground there. What can the Chiefs expect from this group coming up here? And Lamar Jackson, only 99 yards rushing on the season. Is there going to be a conscious attempt to kind of pull back his rushing attempts?
Well, I think, one of the things you see with this team is the fact that they had a historic run last year running the football. And so with that, they go out and, again, they get a J.K. Dobbins, who is absolutely a first-round pick, a steal, if you will, for the Ravens to have him land in their lap. You talk about Mark Ingram. I think he's just a phenomenal leader. I think he's a very charismatic guy that, they feed off his energy. And then you got Gus the Bus, who, when it comes to finishing a game, 14 straight running plays, and, the majority of those carries went to Gus. And I think the way in which they utilize this triumvirate, as you say, it's perfect. Now, one thing I look at, when you looked at what the Houston Texans did, they didn't have such a great job, or they didn't do such a great job tackling against Kansas City, and Kansas City had some really big runs. I thought what they did against the Ravens at home was kind of bottle them up in the first half. They had, 40-plus yards, less than 50 yards total. I thought what they did in the second half to really say, okay, enough is enough, and put their thumb down on the Texans, really ram it down their throat as far as rushing the football was kind of what we expected from, a Greg Roman-led offense. So it's not necessarily about Lamar being, this explosive runner only. It's about, I wouldn't even say the word managing, but it's getting everyone involved in the offense. And I think that's what we see as far as Lamar's numbers and what we see from the running game.
Well, obviously, Lamar Jackson won the MVP last year. What progression in his as a passer have you seen? I know it's early on, only 2 weeks into the season so far, but it could be very impressive again come Monday night against the Chiefs if Charvarius Ward sits out again with the fractured hand. And, of course, Rashad Breeland, their other starting corner, is still suspended for the next 2 games.
Thankfully. I always, kid that, the next man up is, the all-important mantra in the NFL, but also the fact that, well, he was the next man, meaning that he wasn't the best man in the beginning of things. And so you got to be, mindful of that. But I think also with Lamar and his progression, we've seen him really just do a phenomenal job with his accuracy. I think he's improved upon it, dare I say. I think his pocket awareness has really stepped up. I think it was, 5 sacks maybe the Texans got on Lamar, which, if you would look at it and say, wow, the 5 sacks, what's going on? I think it was Lamar recognizing, okay, don't make a bad play worse. I think, sometimes you got to, as a quarterback, just bite the bullet. And I think there's some throws that, he can improve upon that I think he would be the first to tell you. But goodness, he is every bit advertised as far as his work ethic and his progression from last year as a league MVP and continuing on that path.
Well, through 2 games, the Ravens look like the team that, through all this uncertainty of the offseason, no preseason, they look like the team most prepared, most ready to go. What do you attribute that to? Because, the Chiefs here, we're eighth year of Andy Reid, coming off of a Super Bowl, a little clunky and a win over the Chargers, but the Ravens look like they're full steam ahead. I mean, what do you think that has kind of led to this fast start for them?
Well, I think, we need to recognize this, that anytime you are the defending world champion, you're going to have a mark on your plate. And every game is the Super Bowl for the opposing team. You're just trying to hold on, don't get injured, play aggressive enough, win those games that you're supposed to win, which they did, and make it back to the playoffs. And then it's like, all right, cool. Well, we're back here. Let's do it. Let's make another run. It's incredibly difficult to repeat. And so I think that's that when it came to the Chargers and the way they played and, Tyrod Taylor not being able to play, but you got your franchise quarterback in the making. He played extremely well. And, I think your kicker is going to have free steak for life and has goodness, talk about clutch. I mean, that reminded me of Justin Tucker and what he does for us here in Raven flock country. But, I think, for Lamar and company, their fast start can be attributed to unfinished business. They don't have the Lombardi. They don't even have bragging rights to say they won a game in the playoffs under number 8 at quarterback. So, they're still hungry. They're sure going to have teams, recognizing who they are, but, it's not kiss the ring, recognize who we are. It's, hey, oh boy, this is a good football team. We got to be prepared. There's 2 different mindsets.
Absolutely. I kind of want to go back on the defensive side of the ball here for the Ravens. How has that defense felt the loss of Earl Thomas so far this season? And, of course, what kind of impact will it be felt moving forward from the Trayvon Young injury?
So the Trayvon Young injury I'll address first. I think that's going to be devastating. I love the talent that he brings to the table. Boy, the more corners you can have in a system, the better. I think it is sad that, unfortunately, he's not going to be able to, finish out this year. He's going to be on IR and go through the rehab process of the ACL. And I think Jimmy Smith, who was brought in as a first-round pick at corner, he moves over to safety. He's played a ton of snaps at safety because of the injury and at that nickel spot. So I think that's going to really be beneficial for Wink Martindale and his defense. Now, with that said, you talk about, just chemistry. And Earl Thomas, I thought his chemistry just wasn't there. His agenda was about Earl Thomas. And, I think if you know anything about the Ravens and what they like to do, it's them being smart and very strategic when it comes to that team chemistry and the way they design the locker room to the way they go about practices and everything that they do. It's about, hey, let's have that cohesiveness. So when things get tough, it's circle the wagons. It's not point fingers at one another. So I think, it's much to do about nothing now that Earl Thomas is no longer there.
Well, the kind of the common prediction here is that we're looking at an AFC Championship game preview coming up here in Baltimore on Monday night. But let's look around the rest of the AFC. We've seen the Raiders be very impressive. It looks like the New England Patriots aren't quite ready to go away just yet. When you look around, I mean, the Houston Texans with Deshaun Watson was kind of supposed to be a team to be able to challenge for this thing. And the Chiefs and Ravens have both kind of kicked them around a little bit. When we look around the rest of the AFC, who out there looks like a team that could maybe challenge the Ravens and Chiefs for those top two spots?
Well, I mean, we didn't even say that, the Titans too. Who,
Sure.
They got a good thing going. I think Buffalo, good God, man, Josh Allen, we look at what he's done. I think the fact that he's been able to rush the ball, the way he's been able to rush the ball, scoring with the football, Diggs, I think, is just a go-to receiver that he needed, a very strong enthusiasm up there in Buffalo for what they're about to do. I think, you look at, Ben Roethlisberger being back for Pittsburgh, and that really says an awful lot. He has some young, talented receivers that can make some noise. They've been able to sling it down the football field, and their defensive front is no joke. Cameron Hayward and company. Oh my goodness! You better hold on fast. This isn't. Oh, that's okay. The Ravens are just going to run away with the AFC North. Not so fast. I think Steelers, we got to be keep a watchful eye on them. But I think overall, even you look at Phillip Rivers and the Colts, not necessarily the best of starts, but I'm not going to count them out either. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of football. And the fact that you didn't have preseason games, I think these first four regular season games is going to be like first preseason games. Coaches, players are filling themselves out. How do you do things? Young players, what's my role? All of that is going to come into play. And I think, by the time we hit, the midseason mark, who's healthy? That's going to be the key. Who's healthy in those key spots? That's the deciding factor. That's going to be the stretch run to see who is in the playoffs and formulate the representation for the AFC.
Absolutely. And kind of before we get you out of here, Qadry, can't thank you enough for your time. You've been so gracious to come on with us. The Ravens have been impressive. We've talked about it coming out of the gate. Well, the Chiefs, they've been dealing with a lot of injuries, but they had a tough game against the Chargers. The Ravens and Chiefs were both impressive against the Texans. What do you see happening Monday night? Is this finally the Ravens' turn to get the best of Mahomes and the Chiefs?
Yeah, this is a tough one because I think without the fans there, I know here in Baltimore we kind of get frustrated. We feel slighted when we don't get a primetime game at home, and now we got a primetime game. Well, we just can't have fans here. It's good for me in some respects because I'm going to just be able to drive down to the stadium and get in and out and don't have to worry about traffic. I'll be able to go home and put my head on the pillow at 2 o'clock in the morning as opposed to sitting in traffic. But I will also say that, they're going to bring their own enthusiasm. And I think they're going to be recognizing that, this is the reigning AFC representative / Super Bowl champion. And, the road goes through Kansas City, whether you like it or not. And we can say how good we were in the regular season. We didn't get it done. We need to finish. And I think for Andy Reid and company, I'm not going to say this isn't important of a game, but it's a road game. All right, as long as we take care of what we need to take care of in the AFC West, go ahead, John. If you win, good for you. We just want to get out of this healthy, and if we win, haha. So I think the pressure is on Baltimore more so with John Harbaugh than it is with Andy Reid.
Completely agree, Qadry. I tell you what, can't thank you enough for doing this with us. Hopefully we won't wait another 8 years, man. Hopefully we have a return here coming up in January, and we'll be talking about some real stakes coming up here in the playoffs, because I think a pretty good collision course could be coming, man. We can't wait to keep listening to all that you're doing there for the Baltimore Ravens radio network, and on the television side and everything that you're doing. We appreciate it so much, man. Keep up the good work.
Appreciate you guys having me on. A lot of fun. Appreciate you, Noah, and blessings to you guys.
You as well.
Back to you.
Go Ravens.
Chiefs.